Hey everyone! So in a previous video, we discussed what does not report on your credit report, right? So in this video, we're going to talk about what actually affects your credit score, and it is 5 things. They are differently weighted, so some things are going to matter more than other things, but we're going to discuss them all. Number 1 is payment history. This is going to have a decent effect on your credit score. And what payment history is going to be is, do you make your payments on time? It's not if you pay off your card on time, right? It is just, do you make your payments on time? So you can pay a minimum payment and it would still be on time, and it'll report happily, and it'll be a good check mark on your credit report. It is also not considered late unless you're 30 days late. So that means if your payment is due January 15th and you missed it and you made the payment January 25th, it's actually not going to report as late on your credit report. You are going to pay a fee, probably most definitely you're going to pay a fee because you missed your date, but it's not going to actually affect your score until it's February 15th, 30 full days later. That's when it's considered 30 days late. That's when it's going to affect your score. And then if you have a 60-day late, like you missed 2 months and you didn't pay anything, and then you have a 90-day late. So the longer you wait, if a 60 days is going to affect your score more than a 30-day, a 90-day late is going to affect your score more than a 30-day. Please sign up for autopay. I think pretty much every card offers autopay now. If you set up autopay and you set it for the minimum payment, right? It doesn't have to be the statement balance. If you set it for the minimum payment, at least you'll never have a late payment, or you'll never have to pay a late fee, because that's throwing money away, and we don't want to do that. So yeah, set it up on autopay. You can always go in and pay additional, so that way you're not accruing interest. If you can pay off the statement balance, that's always best, so you're not accruing any interest. But that is what's going to determine your payment history portion of your credit score. Number 2, amounts owed. This is basically where they're trying to see if you're maxed out or not, okay? And it's calculated a little bit differently than I think most people think. So this is amounts owed, credit utilization, like people call it different things. But basically they want to know if you're maxing yourself out, So let's say you have one credit card at $5,000 and you use $4,000. Even if you pay it off every single month, you look like you're maxed out in the eyes of the credit bureau because you're using 80% of what's available to you. Now let's say same situation, but you have 3 credit cards that each have $5,000. Now you have $15,000. I feel like, how many apples does Johnny have? Now you have $15,000 in credit line, right? And if you're using the same $4,000, no longer look maxed out, right? Because you're only using $4,000 out of $15,000. It's all, I know it's relative, right? But that's what credit utilization means, like how much you owe. So if you're that person, right? If you have a credit card with a limit of $3,000 and you're using $1,500 or $2,000 a month, even if you pay it off every single month, you should probably get another card, right? I am not encouraging reckless spending. Keep doing what you're doing, but if you get another card and now you have 2 cards with $3,000 each, $6,000 credit limit, and you're using your same $2,000, you look so much less like you're maxed out, even though you're doing the same activity. It's just all how they're gonna frame it. So those 2 are essentially 70% of what's gonna determine your credit score. So those 2 are the biggest chunks. The rest is credit history. So how long you've had your credit available is gonna determine it, because they wanna know if you've been good for a long time, or you've only been good for 6 months, right? They wanna know how long and how consistent your credit history is. And if you want to know of a kind of cool way to microwave your credit history and look like you've had history for a lot longer than you might have, then comment below and we can make a video about that. Number 4 is credit mix. So they want to see that you're a diversified, well-rounded person, I guess. So if you have a home mortgage or you have a car loan and you have a credit card, yay. Someone once told me, like, a car, a house, and 2 credit cards is the perfect mix. I don't think there's a perfect mix. It's just, probably having more than one thing showing on there is going to help. And you could have multiple credit cards. It does not matter. It's not going to lower your credit, really. I mean, I'm going to talk about how it could in the next section, but there's no such thing as a perfect credit mix. It's really just having things that show up on your credit is going to be good. And the last thing that's going to affect your credit is new credit requests and just new credit. So whenever you apply for something new, like you apply for a car loan, you apply for a home loan, you apply for a credit card, it's typically going to do a hard inquiry, okay? So when you do a hard inquiry on your credit, if your score's already high, like 700s, high 600s, it may affect your score by 2 points, 6 points, but from what I've seen, it like bounces back up the next month. Really not gonna have a lasting effect or even a noticeable effect on your score, okay, for those inquiries. What could affect your score for a little bit longer is also if you have lower credit like 500s or low 600s, like if you have a bunch of hard inquiries, it's gonna more affect it by 10 or 15 points. It does affect it proportionately, unfortunately. Now, what can affect it a little bit more is if you like open up 4 new credit cards, right? So this kind of goes back to credit history. You would think if your oldest card is 10 years old and you open up 4 new cards, that your history is still 10 years long. You would think, right? But because you have 1 card that is 10 years old and let's say 4 cards that are 1 year old, they average it. So now you have, 10 plus 4 years, 1 for each card. That's 14 years divided by 5. And so what is that? It's basically like 3 years. Now your credit history looks shorter. It only looks like it's 3 years old. I know, it's weird. I don't want that to deter you from applying for new credit because, you know, if you want to participate in the wonderful world of credit cards and bonus points and rewards and travel kind of, or if you need credit, then I don't want it to deter you. I just want you to be aware. Again, if you have good credit, even the length of history and opening multiple cards, it's going to affect it temporarily, but it's going to go right back to where it was. So those are the 5 things that make up your credit score. We probably could go a little bit more in depth into each one, but that's it. So if you have rough credit, we're going to talk about how to get back on your feet because it actually does not take a lot to fix your credit. I promise you it does not. So we'll see you in another video. So those two probably